Welcome, welcome, welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. This is Grand Master Abdul Azziz Muhammad. And you can also look me up by looking up Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad. This is our show. The show is called Walking with the Master. And I am going to be walking with the Master today, and you're going to get a chance to ride along. So listen, everybody. This show is dedicated to Dr. Moses Powell, also known as Musa Muhammad. And we are going to, this show in particular is someone who I've not had on the show before, but who has been around me, and I've been around him for quite some time since being here in Chicago. Now that sounds like 28 years we've been around each other. But listen, let me just tell you, this person that I'm about to introduce you to that you can see, his name is Kwahn Michael BX Hill. And let me tell you now, he is a pristine martial artist. He is a great friend. He is a beautiful brother. And I welcome you to Walking with the Master. How you doing, my brother?
Assalamu alaikum. And thank you for that illustrious introduction. All praises due to Allah, always, not sometimes, but always. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Man, you're very welcome. We want to get right into it. We want to get started so that we can, really look at this. This show again, this podcast is dedicated to Dr. Musa Muhammad, just keeping him in the forefront, because he's in the forefront of my mind. And, it said, speak not of those who are slain in the way of Allah as dead. Nay, they are not, it's just that you perceive not. So we're never going to allow warriors that have tremendous history and icons in the art ever be in a position where they are not remembered. I'll tell you this, I'll say this thing here. This is something I got from also Tiari Cassell. He says, you can be born, you're born once, but you can die twice. He said, the first death is when the last breath of life leaves your body. But the second death is when no one else says your name and you're not remembered. That's a second death. So we will never have a second death by Allah's grace and permission, by God's grace and permission. We are going to always keep him out front, especially if we are still present in this world, on this world. All right. So I greet you, my brother. Ush, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. I pray I only have one death as well. I would like to send out.
Yes,
I would like to send out a vibration to student minister, Sister Dr. Ava Muhammad, a true warrior, a soldier for Islam here and abroad. And I thank Allah for her presence. And going back when Minister Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, put her in charge of the mosque, I was here at the final call, and we wanted to really give her the best backing we could. Being the first woman being on the rostrum like that. And we wanted to make him proud, and we didn't miss a meeting. When I would come in town, we didn't miss a meeting. And it was an honor to be in her presence. And we listened to her, just like, she's talking, shut up and do what she tells you to do. Lest we get in trouble. So I want to thank Allah for her presence, and she will not have a second death.
That's right. That's right. She has done so much. So yes, she is a tremendous sister, and she will never be forgotten. If anything has to do with myself and with all of those who love her, man, may Allah continue and forever be pleased with her. All right, my brother. Now, in terms of yourself, you had the pleasure of meeting Doc. You were here in Chicago when Doc came, I believe, and tell me about your relationship or your connection or how you know him.
one thing here is that when I came back to Chicago, he was also in the process of making his move elsewhere. And they needed a martial art instructor. And like I've said before, I didn't ask to be there. I was ordered. It was my job and duty to be there. And he was around, not as much, but I was in his presence. And he was kind of I won't say hard act to follow, but he was a hard act to follow. And because they would make the comparison. I mean, they have to make the comparison. And but I did have the blessings in it before he left here. That's when they were at the Power Building across from the Final Call newspaper and teaching early in the morning, and the classes on the Monday classes. So that day also him coming to the school, and as I told you before, my martial art instructor, first martial art instructor, Dennis Perdue, Dennis Perdue, they were like uncles to me. And just to see my teacher breaking his neck to see your teacher when we had our programs here at the school, man, they were like little kids talking to each other. So just to be in his presence, man, those are the things that stand out the most to me. And him being here before the last time I saw him, I do believe it was here at the school, and it was just an awesome moment, even after he had had some challenges, just to be in his presence and you to bring him, man. You know. Oh man, that's, I think I had that on tape too somewhere, but that's part of it. Yes, sir.
Yes, you're just reminding me about that you know, brought him over to the school because you had that event. That was really something, and that was a great event as well.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And it was the fellowship, the camaraderie, no medals, no trophies. And the reason that it was done, and especially him coming, this was basically my homage to those that come before us. So, and it was my video game, because you know, when you're teaching, you can't always get around to see everybody. So I figured if I invite everybody else, at least I get to watch. It's like watching TV to me. That was Netflix before it was Netflix, and and to have them there, man, that was an honor. And then the seniors back from the 50s. Man, it's totally awesome. And then our magazine that actually Orrin had at the time, Art of the Warrior, to have him on the front cover of that magazine and to do that interview at that time, that was totally awesome. Totally awesome.
It was. You had some other persons that have been that has been around for many years there too. Do you remember some of them?
At the martial arts in general?
No, at that event. Yes, in martial arts. Yes. Oh,
Preston, Grandmaster Preston and Otis Baker, Master Babayani from Iran. Oh my goodness, Dennis Perdue, Maxime Perdue, Grandmaster Lindsay. Oh gosh, they came from every system. I had people from the Capoeira from Brazil, Marisa. Oh gosh, you got me thinking here, brother.
I know.
And a renowned yoga master from Korea, but he's in Japan now. His name is Duncan Wong, and he's a tremendous Dr. P. These were the people that just came out all over the place.
Yes, it was a packed event, definitely, and you know, and we'll get into, you know, your school and things of that nature a little later on. I want to know now more about where you came from, your roots. You know, how did you get into martial arts? I mean, you know, what happened?
Bruce Lee happened, man, brother. It's my mother had us. She always put positive men around us, or made sure that in the absence of my father at the time, she made sure strong men were in our midst. So she got us in a program called Camp Jahng, which is at Northeastern University, where you had people such as Dr. Jacob Niva Carruthers, Egyptologist, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, and at Northeastern University across from the old Jeff Fort establishment. And they had a program where we went to camp for like 2 weeks, and that's when they introduced to praying mantis Kung Fu. and we lived in tents, not the little fancy stuff. We lived in tents where if it rained, you might get wet. And agriculture, we learned electricity. We learned how to hunt. We learned how to create shelter, archery, horseback riding. And that was my introduction to the first touching of the martial art, which is Kung Fu. So coming back from camp, Gianda, up in Bangor, Michigan, Bruce Lee was, I think that was 73, right before his passing. And I wanted to get into a class. So the class was so full at the YWCA on 62nd and Drexel. We had to do judo. Judo was not popular back then. And Maxine Perdue, her husband, Sabun Dennis Perdue, at the time, I got into judo. So actually, I always tell people, a woman showed me how to throw people around. And at that time, then I got into karate, shiru, Japanese karate, and taekwondo under General Choi, not Jun Rhee. Jun Rhee didn't bring taekwondo to the States. At that time, it was General Choi, who had one of the first books. And then her husband. Back then, there was jujitsu at that time, Aikido, but you weren't, back then, you had to be a teenager to even dabble in Aikido or jujitsu. You were too young, they didn't do it. So, but that's where the blood, sweat, and tears, no pads. We hit the bag until our knuckles bled. We were on the northern floors that burned like heck if you sit in the Caesar position forever. So and then we had to learn Japanese. We had to learn the terminology. And Dennis Perdue was the highest ranking Black person in judo under Hank Okamura. And that was the beginning. Then by the way, another person was at the meeting was Jaco, known as Hamza. And that was Mr. Perdue's student. So that's how I got involved in the martial art. And that's when the tournaments were held at the Medina Temple. Count Dante, John Keenan, the deadliest man alive. That's when Dennis Perdue, I call him Max, he doesn't like the word master. But they were whipping up on the Japanese in their art. Right there. That's the true story. And so and then you know, and then one thing I like about that I have with you is that the collaboration of a Grandmaster Otis and Preston Baker and Mr. They used to teach in the gymnasium at the same time at opposite ends, and there was no rift. There was a brotherhood there that lasted until that'll last to the end of times, and that was a beautiful thing. You don't really see that too much today.
Yes, yeah. Well, you know that brings me brings to my mind in terms of today's martial artists and yesterday's martial artists, or let's just say even the art itself. Now, I was mentioning the martial artists, but yesterday's martial arts and today's martial arts. Talk to me about that. How
the terms of respect was, I believe, much greater. Once money became involved in the tournaments, a lot of things, you got a chance to express yourself. But the first thing about the martial art at that time that I learned from Mr. Perdue was they had to overcome the racism within the art itself. So they had set a precedence or platform that they had a certain kind of discipline to overcome those things that were within the system itself. And then they had such a keen and a love for it that they passed down that dedication to us. And somewhere along the line, I think through the trophies, some things were lost. And if we had a bad blood, we fought hard. We just wanted to prove that we're good at what we do. And back in those days, the reason why I did the events that I had here is that Sensei Hackett, Sensei Gilbert, and Aikido, they used to do a big event at the Dunbar High School. And they were bringing all the different kinds of martial arts. I forgot about that just now I'm talking to you. And they would come together and just to show the art. This is what you do with the national, I call it international training seminar. That's what you do. You bring everybody together. So we're not, we're going to do our thing, but there's a camaraderie there. And some of those things are lost with the competition on the circuit. And you have to keep those things that appear. You have to give the honor with Professor V. You give that to him. You give that to Grandmaster Moses Powell. You give that to him, and then some of those things are lost. And I tell my students all the time, I can call people now anywhere in the world. If you're a martial artist, they got you. your family. You're like a nephew, a niece, a grandchild. And some of those things are lost. And I think some of the things are bastardized with the martial art, with the competition, and the money got involved in it. And it was good on one end. And on the other end, I don't think that it did too well. And this is just where we are. Now, we had a different kind of fighter than today's fighter. You know, they do a lot of running when they fight nowadays. We didn't run too much. We ran because we got knocked back. It wasn't running, you were knocked down. So it's more a point, get a point and run and don't get hit. And they're good at it. They're good. I don't take that away from anybody. They're tremendous fighters like that. But the bare knuckles and elbows and knees and groin kicks are still in. But you had to do some things due to safety. And so it's just the politics were still in there as well. So, but, you know, this is where we are. We just have to make the best of it. The biggest challenge for martial artists today are not other martial artists. It's the soccer, it's the football, it's the basketball. It's those things that are pulling away from these life skills that instructors have. And so when other activities became more involved with the children in the community, which they needed, we kind of have to fight just to keep their attention. And so that's another battle that we have to deal with. I got great martial arts, but they're playing ball right now. And how do you keep them going? We have to maintain a solidness. And what really needs to be done, I'm gonna put it out here. I know there are books about masters of martial art. We need a museum. We need either a virtual museum or we need to be an African-American museum in DC so that what we're talking about can be viewed and can be seen forever as long as the planet Earth exists.
You know, that's an excellent idea.
And I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because we, you know, I know one of Doc's children, Cheryl Powell, she has desired, and we've been looking at it, you know, we just have to go after it. And I think maybe we will do some collaboration on it because we need to for what we were looking at is just bringing Doc to really do some history on him and present that into the museum. And in fact, there was a museum that said yes, but they wanted some things, and we have to, you know, they want the old artifacts, you know, that, you know, garments that he may have had and things of that nature. So that's something that we're going to do. We're going to work on, and I think we need to do that in terms of Black martial arts.
Yes, sir. That's what I.
Yes.
And that's what I was talking about. And from that, yes, the Japanese kept a certain culture. The Philippines, we all know that the martial art or the fighting styles, a lot of them, or began in the continent what today is known as Africa. But the main thing about it is keeping that alive. And you're right, keeping that history. But look how many people have come out of Black martial artists. You, such as yourself, and other people that are in the areas. Ronald E. McNair, the astronaut, he was a 5th degree black belt in karate. Yeah. And so look, all the doctors and lawyers and people that have come out of that, and congressmen who have trained in the martial arts, and these people that we don't even know about came out of Black martial arts, and or came from, as far as the training came from. This just came out of a podcast the other day. 2/3 of the people that run the CEO companies are military, and the other third are martial artists that are actually running, you know, things that we need to be running as well. The CEOs, the COOs of companies I have dabbled. And when I used to be a janitor, one thing when I would clean the rooms, I was a janitor. That's what I did. And I would look on their shelves, and the presidents of companies have Art of War, Bushido, Kendo were on their shelves, and they were trying to be warriors in their kind of way. So I learned that back when I was in my about 19, 20 years old. I says, why are these men in these arts? Why are they reading these books? Because they wanted to understand because business is war. Business is being a war. So 1/3, and they use that because of the discipline that the martial art brings, that we have to maintain. We have to keep a stand. Yes, we have to adapt to what's out there, but we still have to maintain certain standards. And sometimes my students come back and say, you know, you got a little soft. No, I just got to make sure that I keep my doors open. But when you get for me a little bit longer, you'll find out I am who I am. And that's just the way that is. I show love by touching you, you know, with a palm every now and then, you know.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
Yes, indeed. Well, you know, you have been, like I said, a tremendous brother. You're always giving. You're always doing for someone else. And the reason, well, I want to talk about the reason for that, as well as the concept or the idea of being a giver. Does that add or aid your martial arts?
It, oh, tremendously. I think that I've received more than I've given. And that's because I don't think about why I give. I don't think about should I give, you just give. So the people that I have met on this journey, man, it's awesome. I don't think any words, and I got that from my mother because she served. You know, it's something Muhammad Ali says, service is the rent that you pay while here on earth. And so it's the connections, the resources that come that we need, and we had to make that connection because I didn't always have the resources. This is what we're on now. This is a resource, and having a resource, and I made a commitment back in college after a very situation. I didn't have the resources to help somebody, and I said from this day forward that as long as I live, I will keep in contact with the people I know from this country, from college to this day, that all from the Caribbean, Africa, England, and from college. And I said, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to stop. So it just, man, I went to Tuskegee, man. You cash your buckets down where you are, you work, and you don't talk about it, you don't complain about it, you just work. There are people that I'm on their shoulders, I'm on coattails of others. And I'm in debt for those people that came before me. So who am I to do any less? I'm not doing enough.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, nowadays, you're looking, people, even instructors, if you will, are looking not to give as much, but to get more than they get. I mean, business is business in one sense. But when I think about the artist from the instructor from previous years, the idea was always to give to the student. And again, I'm not knocking the aspect of business because I'm in business myself. But I never want to feel like I'm getting or taking more than I'm giving. So I appreciate the spirit that you mentioned just a moment ago. So within, as far as the art is concerned with you, you're doing a number of things. You have, you're a retired fireman, I mean, that I'm sure you had to use some art in that all of the years. Tell me a little bit about your history in that and how that relates to your art.
The minister for Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan once said I would go into hell with a 3-piece gasoline suit to get my people. So I didn't put the gasoline suit on, but I will go into the fire. And I took that literally. I will go into fire to get my people. And literally have done that. And I believe it was that, and do it with common sense too. But to go in where children, where no one can get out, then he always asked the question, who will go? I will go. And I took that with me, that martial arts spirit, along with the teachings. And I have been in some where ceilings of fire have come down on me, trying to rescue people. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. I just actually connected back with one of the aunts last week. And this happened over years. Some things just stay with you, but the martial art, blown off of a roof, being able to do a back fall with a tank on and not break my spine, even though I was in therapy for some time. I think 54 days in therapy. Falling on ice, getting back up and still doing your job. So the falls helped me to do my job. Of course, the pain came later once the adrenaline goes away. So just being able, and then having to kind of use some soft skills on the martial art on patients who became quite belligerent. You know, they weren't able to get up, especially when you're dealing with blood and paramedics, and you have to maintain where it takes 7 people to hold down a person that's just going through a hypoglycemic diabetic type coma. They're extremely strong. They could lift 7 people. Well, using the martial art, I was able to hold them down. Only 2 people could do the job, because when they're using a needle and IV, I don't want to get stabbed with the needle. So I was able to use certain techniques that could keep the person and keep them safe without injuring, like a George Floyd type situation. And sometimes, you know, and they've come at me on the street, and I've been able to kind of calm them down. So the biggest thing was preventative, especially when a person was very belligerent toward me. And the crazy thing about it is, my comrades and coworkers, they didn't come to de-escalate the program. They come to see what I was going to do. I said, man, y'all supposed to be, you know, they went out, man, yeah, we got to see this. They, you know, no, this is not what we do. So, and using the skills so you don't have to. Been in shootouts, things like that, where gunfire, police officers have been taken out and shot, and been able to maintain calm while an active shooter was on the scene before the word active shooter was taking place. So to be calm under stress, this is how the martial art and the fire department collaborated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. And starting to talk about your school. Now, your school is an icon in the community. You've been there for many years. Could you tell us a little bit about your school?
Going into 33 years. I'm in my 33rd year at the same location. Had no business clue whatsoever. It was passion, hard work, and a few people told me that I couldn't do it. And I had some help, believe it or not, from brother Leonard, brother Maurice Farrakhan, who came in and did my electrical work way back then. And actually, I got started at this location with 7 Muslims that came over from the final call, and they supported me going from training outside to working at park districts to working in field houses. And they came and supported me. And actually, we didn't have the money to tear down walls. So we literally had to kick and punch walls down because we didn't have the tools to do it. And everybody pitched in. And by Allah's grace and just hard work, brother, and good people. And some of them that still help me out to this day. And I could never have done it without them. There's no way. It was the Muslims. It was the Muslims that supported me outside with mosquitoes and in the rain, you know. So the vanguard, the minister, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his daughter was also with me at that time. So it wasn't me, brother. It was Allah. It wasn't me.
He definitely works through men and women. So it's a blessing, and I appreciate your humility.
I almost have it figured out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, but you have many more students than just Muslim. You have all religions, if you will, going to school. But your children, you have a great group of young people. Tell me about them.
A lot of my even black belts to this day that are still around, in which that they come, you know how blacks are, they come and they go, they come and they go. But I have some since 6th grade. The nurses now, I talk with the children that grew up. they're doctors, surgeons, police officers, firefighters. They come back and they bring their children now. And I think their children's children, so that makes me a grandfather, almost a great grandfather, I guess. The children, they come in waves as far as the discipline. I'll get a wave where they want to fight, and I get a wave where I don't know. But they do ask more. They ask more questions. But I tell them to research it, and I have to find different ways to kind of get them to overcome fears. And with the way the country is, the way the world is going, they are much more aware due to social media. One thing that I do now is I take the children out on the street and make them aware of their surroundings, and we walk the street. So that when the incidents that happens at Great America, the park, not park, Highland Park, how to avoid these situations and what to do in these situations. There was a shooting at a school last week, and I looked at the video and everybody's running. My group, I told them this, gave them certain instructions to do. So the children, they make me laugh, and sometimes they tap into me more than they know, which makes me sometimes go hug my mother even more so. They'll say things, oh man, they didn't even know the things that come out of the mouth of children, and right. Teaching the tots, they keep me young or younger, and they actually challenge me to become a better instructor, because they learn a little differently than the group, so it's the children has been especially during the pandemic, they're starting to come back around intellectually, being to pick it up, because these masks blocked us from a lot of things. So at one time I couldn't recognize my student on the street if he took his mask off. But other than teaching through Zoom, so the children are the backbone of what needs to be done at this time, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that they do that. If I have to go to their school, I will go to their school. If they're not acting right, I'm gonna make sure that they act right. I tell the parents, don't ask me how I got it correct. If they corrected their situation, don't ask me how it was done. Just consider it done. But the adults in the past have really been integral part in me being here, and now I have their children. Yeah, you're right. I have their children's children. Now think about it. I do have their children's children now. So, and it amazes me because if they came to me when they were 10, they're 43 now.
Yes.
So, and that's something that I have to wrap my mind around too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about instructor's mindset. Instructor's mindset. I'm, let's just say I didn't start with you. I'm just someone that you came across, maybe at a tournament, maybe at a demonstration. And, I have a question for you as an instructor. How can I be a better instructor? What should I do? How should I handle? I have trouble with some of these young ones. Just tell me, what should I do? How should I be to gain? Let's just go into gaining respect of these young people.
Multiple things, and I'm still learning this. One is, which is some of the hardest, is some things that are hard for us as martial art instructors to do. You got to listen to your staff. Sir, they're not getting this, because we're going to do it this way. We had to train, and I have younger instructors, and they're like, sir, we need to do it this way. And I'm kind of, okay, let me see your way. First of all, I have to kind of let go of the reins and let those that are younger, closer to the age, and give them an opportunity to tap into the younger generation. I have to respect that. I didn't like it at first. I'm telling the truth. I had to call my instructor. They're trying to take over. He said, Mike, you got to let it go. I'm like, all right. And I hung up the phone. The other thing is that my mother worked in my office. Well, she sat in my office. She didn't really work because I was still doing everything she was doing. But my mother actually sat here and would navigate me how to talk to the children. her being an educator in the Board of Education for over 40 years. If a child didn't respond, if he didn't say yes, sir, but if he acknowledged you some kind of way, she said, let it go. Don't say right or wrong, just say left or right if they put their shoes on. So I started paying attention to the smaller details from the smaller children. Now to the older children, sometimes what we forget is that children have bad days too. And they come in there and they're not acting the way you want to. Sometimes I have to stop the class, sit down. How was your day? Who had a bad day? And so they raise their hand. And I'm like, oh, wow. So sometimes just to stop and listen to them, what they have to say, what it is that they have to say. And we think that we had our bad days, but they do too. And I asked one child, was had me laughing. I said, did you have a bad day? He said, bad day. I'm having a bad week. And I didn't mean to laugh, but he hit me so with that. And the other thing is having other activities outside. Sometimes Alice, my top administrator, comes in and she'll do something just for the girls. And she'll have a girls where they'll dress up and they have whatever the girls talk about next door. And they have things to give them, products to give to them that to help them. And that brings out a certain kind of connection with the student and the teacher. Here, we used to do movie night, we haven't done it in a long time. Skating, we were going to do a skate party right before the pandemic hit. So I have to kind of remove them from this environment to get their trust, to get their love, not to get it, but they start to understand, hey, it's not all this working on a summer camp to go away from here, which I had to I couldn't do it to the magnitude that I wanted to do it at this year. But other things, we implement, by me being a former football player, high school and college, I'll take some of the drills that we did in football, soccer, baseball. I have tennis balls hanging up, basketball, and we go through the drills. So the good thing about that is they become very good at that. They enjoy it. The other thing is that they become real good at that other sport, and then I lose them to the same to that activity they got it. So I take them through obstacle courses that create a camaraderie, and then we have games where they compete. They get to create their own teams, and they get to pick them, and everybody gets picked. Right now we do archery. Now they get about as good as me shooting the bow and arrow, and so we create other avenues to shoot. We had where they had the Nerf ball shooting, where we put up obstacles just to have fun. So we had to create other things, martial art, military science, and that creates a different environment. Me, I wouldn't have done it at first, but they got me to, hey, so can we try it this way? So I had to listen. I had to listen to my instructors. I cut down on some of the hours because I'd be on the Saturday at 7 o'clock at night. So had to slow that down a little bit, but is really listening to the children, and they'll tell you. And I use other ways to say thank you. Yes, we say "Kamsahamnida, Dominicato," but I use sign language to talk to the children. I always give them something else that's different, and they go, "Wow!" So they can take that somewhere. And the last point, I had an instructor just went to Korea, and he'd been around me for years. He went to Korea. Everything I talked about, he was able to show it, or even the language, the mannerisms, the culture. He's able to do certain things. And I just had a student just get back from Kemet, which is today known as Egypt. And I'm teaching them, when you go here, this is the real history. So we have history lectures, and also teach some of the science, how far the sun is from the moon. The earth is from the planet. And I teach those teachings sometimes here in a way that won't be offensive to certain people. And sometimes I do get a backlash from the parents. What are you doing? But I'm going to do what I need to do. Get that answer. So games, stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Now, when you again, I'm going to give you another question as this is the older guy. This is that one that, he has a school, he teaches on himself. But we're talking about not having the mindset to create unity. What do you think? I know you're aware of many schools that are on both sides, those who want to be together and then those who are not trying to be together. you know. So in terms of masters or instructors, what do you have to say about unity?
One thing is that I tell people, like when you throw an event or when you do something, and I use that, you have to know the rhythm of your city. Once you know the rhythm of your city, you know the rhythm of what's going on in your city, not just events and events. Now, that being said, you bring that down to the human level, man, being aware, first of all, walking into another person's school and introducing yourself. We have to break those barriers. I don't wait for somebody to walk through my doors. Sensei Sabon or Master Joe Fitzgerald, I'm riding my bike in Hyde Park and I saw my poster up on his wall with my face on it. So I walked in. He went through some challenges with the school during the pandemic. He just checked on me the other day. I didn't know him years ago, but I had to cross. I'm like, man, I'm all right. You all right? And he was, you know, he had to shut his school down, and he's still doing some things. Master Babiani, when he lost his family to an earthquake, his wife and his daughter, an earthquake in Iran years ago, I saw him out. I didn't know him. I walked into his school. I introduced myself. I expressed my condolences. I went to his event. I created a bond. And we can't be afraid that somebody knows more than us somewhere or someone does something better than us. We can't compare that. We, on our end, have to reach out to those instructors. And sometimes I invite them in. And sometimes I go to their school. Sometimes we get out there, we throw those punches and we exchange in good faith and in good spirit. And that creates that bond that has to be taken care of. You know, when you came to Chicago, I don't know if you remember, you were at a tournament at O'Hare Airport. I had just driven in from Ohio. And I said, anything that you need, let me know. Because Chicago is not New York and New York is not Chicago. New York is rough, bro. That's a whole different beast. But, you know, so what do you need? You see somebody, he does something that you don't do. You just reach out. And we can't let the fear, the ignorance, the lack of vulnerability, because we have to maintain our level of training regardless and our level of understanding each other. So we have to do that. So I walk into a school. If I do something, it may not be about martial arts. It may be something about yoga. It may be something about breathing. It may be something about reflexology. And I invite them in because my thing is, if you're healthy, then I get to keep talking to you. Because if I love you, I want to keep talking to you as long as I possibly can. You know, there's a book called How Not to Die. It's not that you're not going to die. I don't want to be the cause of it. My own cause. Let life take its course if that's the case. So we have to, that's why I've had these events. It's just to create. So I figured it's not the martial art. Maybe I can do something that we can have a bond in. But I have to listen what's going on to my martial art brother. Even in Facebook, I watch. If something's going wrong, you see Mark Quinn out there, Sensei Mark Quinn. Hey, I call him up. I don't talk on Facebook. Hey, what's going on? And just to keep the contact. And other martial arts, the Tim Wright, Tim Davis, Sifu, Sijos, all the names that come, I can remember all the names and titles, but I keep in touch with them. But nobody was doing it. We have to step out and just make a visit to that older generation and invite them in. Let's have a workout. And, you know, some days the doors were closed and it was just us. And we just sweat, you know, worked out till we about threw up. Some did. And that's how you create that connection.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean,
Hope that answers your question.
It sure enough does. I mean, I appreciate it. You know, when again, as you mentioned, that you came and you asked me, you know, what do I need? And you don't just ask. Even with that, you know, I don't say anything, but you brought in cases of water. You're always giving. So I want to, you know, publicly thank you for just all that you've done for me. And I know that that's just your way. That's how you do what you do. So you didn't do it just for me, but that's your personality and your commitment to the art and to people. So I appreciate.
Did I tell you that? Because Brother Khalil, I told him to keep a secret now.
Oh no, I don't. You can't just bring something in the dojo and like, find out where it's coming from. No, it was definitely a blessing, but it always is. You know, you've been a tremendous friend and brother, and that is see that's something also that we really need to talk more about. How to be a brother in the art, how to be, someone who is looking out, for your brother in the art. When I say brother, and I'm not talking about only men, talking about for your brother or sister that is in the art. That's something that's done. You do it. I do my best to do that. We got to do better, everybody, of course. But the conversation about unity, as I mentioned before, is a big conversation. How do you show unity, in the art? What would you say?
One thing is speaking out. I have a saying, and I'll answer that question. If there's any kindness that I can do, I live by this. Let me do it now. Do not let me defer, for I may not walk this way again. I forgot the author of that particular statement. The unity is one of the things that is when you do international training seminar. Tournaments sometimes brings division. Sometimes I got the idea that I had would open up the school was, as far as the unity, was not, there was no competition. I didn't originate. I got that from Dennis Perdue when they got together when I was an 8-year-old, 9-year-old at Dunbar High School, when they all got on stage and did something. Then Grandmaster Shorty Mills would have a Shia, where he brings all the martial artists, the jujitsu people, the karate people, and then we just get on the floor. We spar over here, you do, and every so often we change and we fight over here, we do techniques over here. And that involved martial arts from different systems, whereas we're able to overcome, because a lot of times martial artists, they don't want to admit it, they may be intimidated with something that they don't know. And, and when they don't know it, this is what I do over here. So to make them comfortable is really just come up and just touch them. And hey, let's do this. And the biggest thing is you're on it, is have the seminar, but the unity is to sit down and talk, and just really get in the room and let's get together. Hey, I'm doing this. Let's get together. You invite people out to your school. Everybody doesn't do that, brother. Everybody does not do that. I brought them here. I'm not afraid what you have or don't have. Everybody does not do that. I'd rather sit down and watch anyway. I don't have to demo today. I just want to watch. That's my video game, So the unity is understanding, and right now it can be done with the crime that's here in Chicago and around the nation. That's something what Marquin is out there, Sensei Marquin is out there doing it. He has a patrol unit. Those are things that, how do we go about getting? I've had members from the O block, from the O on 63rd and King Drive. I've had the gang members pull them in. No, we're not doing this anymore. And they were enforcers. They were actually hurting people, and they don't hurt them anymore because I made sure they didn't hurt anybody anymore. And they're working now. And but the unity, it's really going to the community, putting it out there, the schools, the grammar schools. But the unity amongst ourselves is we got to get out our own way. We got to get out our own way, and just having this podcast talking. You're going to talk to somebody else after me. And after a while, you're going to have a larger library. And then what you do with it, you call me, I just show up. It does, maybe not a seminar. Hey, let's get together. Hey, do this, or you could use my place or whatever. I don't, whatever, I've opened my doors to some of your students when they couldn't, out here, if they want to work out. Hey, I give them a key.
That's right.
I don't ask about, here's my key. It's my house. You got a key to my house. All right, see whatever, but the unity, we have to be on the same page. I have people that are Jewish here, different religions. When I walk in the door, the pain here is religion. Religion is the pain. You know, we can get rid of this real soon. You know, pain don't care about your religion. And Preston Baker has a Master Stan McKinney. They have open minds, and really, if you bring about 3 or 4 schools, check this out. You get 3 or 4 schools. Me, you, Stan McKinney, Master McKinney, Grandmaster, and let's do something. Everybody's gonna do this. What are they doing over there?
Right.
You don't need a whole bunch of people. Just need a couple. Y'all didn't get it, you know, and they'll be mad, just like what the minister did to Million Man March. Well, you didn't call me. He said, well, the plane can come back and pick you up. You know, all you need is a few, and they'll go here. You call 2 people, I call 2 people, and the unity can come. So if we need something, and this happened because of you. I know I'm talking a lot, but I had a brother. These things are coming in my head. Your brother Chris Muhammad. I had a family going to Boston University. I called him up, but I met him through you, and that's unity. And ask him, could you look after my students on the way up there? Man, they got treated well. They got treated better than I did when I went up there. I said, what's going on? So really reaching out and sitting down, man, and just having talks. It didn't even have to be on the floor sometimes. Sometimes just get around and have a breakfast and just talk, martial art talk, what's going on, what we need to do better at. And then get together later on. And we're gonna get together next week on the mat. And you know, I have people that are with the Gracies, Jiu-Jitsu, you know. One of my, he's been with me since 6th grade. He's a 3rd degree with the Gracies, but he's my highest ranking student here. What y'all want, man? We just have to talk only for a minute, and then get on the floor. and if you want somebody, if you can't get to them, I can. I'll break the barrier.
Well, you've introduced a number of things, and I'm going to not so much take you up on it, because I know you talking the truth. You're saying exactly what we need to do, but I'm going to commit to doing that. I had not in the last period. I mean, from the local community of martial artists, we haven't gotten together like we had once upon a time. So we got to do that, Kwahn. We got to do that, and I'm here to help you, help us come together and bring some things, you know, make some things happen.
You know, and you showing up to just about everything, as busy as your schedule is. When I would have my anniversaries, you came in. Like I said, man, I just love this. I just love the brotherhood and the believe it or not, through the suffering and the pain that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan always talks about, it brings a certain amount of camaraderie. I know you've been through something, so I'm glad I see you go through it. You know, I'm over here watching. It's okay, you know. But my instructor, you know, Master Marlon Sims, or Chief Master Marlon Sims, is the same way. Like, you know, I open my doors to him. You know, you go here, take this. And that's just the way I've always been, man. I don't just call me. Just call me.
Yes, indeed. Well, you know, I'm thankful for your time, for your words, and I pray that everyone that get a chance to see this, you know, get a chance to benefit from your knowledge, your wisdom, and your example, which is definitely a blessing. Yes, please.
You're the blessing. I was just talking to Grandmaster Bill McLeod the other day, okay. And you know, and the conversations we have is like I've known him all my life.
Yes.
It's like I've known him all my life. I was, concerned about him, and I'm sorry that I missed the international training seminar or else, but that those kinds of brothers out there, and when, you know, anybody that I can offer to help them, even from health or strength program, whatever it is, man, I've got these people. I can't keep this stuff inside my head. I got to get it out so I can have something else to give, but so I can fill my cup. And so it's it's just a phone call, man. I'm only here for a short while.
Come on, that's right, we are. And it's just that is that time period between the period of when we first come to the point that we have to leave and go back to the Father. So between those two, it's only a moment in the period of forever. and the brother Mustafa Farrakhan always says this. He says, he brings our attention to it, and he says that we're going to be dead. When we do die, we're going to be dead forever. So while we're here, we have to do something while we're here that's going to represent your time on this planet. So, we got to do it. And I'm just thankful that we're not the type that get a lot of sleep.
Sleep.
We
need sleep. But something we need to do as martial artists, one is more meditation.
Yes.
And the understanding of meditation and how to move our chakras and our ki around with the stressful life that is out there that we combat. That is a major component. That is actually the conduit between the physical, the mental, is the breath. And that's one thing we have to do. We do it in our technique, but we really sit down and have that so that we can it opens up other gates for unity. And that's something there. And it's something Mr. Perdue once told me. I've had a good life with no regrets. What more can a man ask for? And that's what he said right before he left. He did all he could do. And so that's something that's another thing that brings unity, is just a meditation class, not about religion, just the breath. And that creates something too, because we all breathing if we show up. It's not a technique, it's not a form, it's not me breaking or you breaking anything, it's just breath. And those people out there, the resources are there. So I'm open for it. That's another way to bring unity. Let's move away the styles and let's just talk about the breath.
Yes.
And you take it back to the system.
Awesome. Great.
Taking to me right there.
Come on now, that's how it happens, right? Yeah. I want to thank you for your time. And now listen, this is not the last time. It may be the first, but it's not the last. And I want you to know that, the next time you come on the show, it's like coming to the house. The first time maybe I'll get you, I'll go in the refrigerator and get it for you. But after that, no, you can go get your own water out the refrigerator now. No, again, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show. And I want to, we'll talk about what the next show is going to be, because there's a lot in you that I know I have not tapped into, but I'm sure they got enough to be, to quench their thirst today. Thank you very much, Kwahn.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, family. Listen, make sure that you subscribe. Ring all the bells, do all of the stuff that they do. Pass it on. Let somebody else know about the show. You were just on Walking with the Master, and we were walking with Kwahn Michael BX him. Us.
Every student of a master here today, you reflect your master teacher. You want to walk like him. You want to talk like her. But you start by having an object in front of you that you admire.